Hey all, so today's video is an overview of the Coven faction in Town of Salem 2. We'll be looking at how the Necronomicon affects the Coven, then the Coven book order, as well as information about each role and its abilities. Then towards the end of the video there'll be a list of some fake claims for certain Coven roles, so please feel free to leave any feedback in the comments. I do read all the comments as well, so without further ado, let's get on with the video. So firstly, what is the Coven in Town of Salem 2? So the Coven is a faction in Town of Salem 2 where there are 15 different roles in total. Each of these roles is unique and they can only be a maximum of 4 Coven per game. Obviously this depends on certain role lists where there might be limitations on the amount of Coven, so that could affect that. So all of these roles fall under 4 different sub-alignments. The first one is Coven Power, and that would cover the Coven Leader, Witch and Hex Master role. The second sub-alignment is Coven Killing, and the Conjurer, Jinx and Ritualist would fall under this. The third sub-alignment is Coven Utility. This covers the Necromancer, Poisoner, Potion Master, Voodoo Master and the Wildling. The last sub-alignment is Coven Deception, and this covers the Dreamweaver, Enchanter, Illusionist and Medusa. So let's move on to the next section. So next let's take a look at the Necronomicon. So firstly, what is the Necronomicon in Town of Salem 2? Well, the Necronomicon gives a Coven member the ability to basic attack a target at night. With the Necronomicon, the Coven member will appear as innocent to the sheriff, but can still be detected by other town investigative roles. If the Coven member with the Necronomicon dies, then it'll pass on to the next Coven member based on the Coven book priority order, which we'll be covering in the next section. For context, the Necronomicon can also be referred to as the player with the Coven book. So to sum up this section, Necronomicon gives you a basic attack and makes you appear as innocent to a sheriff. So now let's take a look at the Coven book priority order. So in Town of Salem 2, as we previously covered, the Coven has 15 roles total, and each role is assigned a different number which determines the order they'll get the Necronomicon. So I'm going to list them all out now. So number 1 is the Coven Leader, number 2 is the Conjurer, number 3 is Medusa, number 4 is the Poisoner, number 5 is the Witch, number 6 is the Wildling, number 7 is the Dreamweaver, number 8 is the Enchanter, number 9 is the Voodoo Master, number 10 is the Hex Master, number 11 is the Necromancer, number 12 is the Potion Master, number 13 is the Illusionist, number 14 is the Ritualist, and number 15 is the Jinx. In the next section of this video, we're going to be covering each role individually, providing some context about what the role does and if the Necronomicon affects the role beyond what was stated at the beginning of the video. So starting with the Coven Leader, by default you will always have Empowered Defense, but you can freely switch between Empowered Defense and Offense at night. Empowered Defense makes you have a basic attack and basic defense, whereas Empowered Offense gives you powerful attack but you end up with no defense. Though you do gain role block immunity, which means roles like the Tavern Keeper can't stop you from killing at night. The next role is the Conjurer role, and this role, as the name implies, conjures a projectile at your chosen target. You will only be able to use this ability once in the daytime, and this deals a powerful attack, and unfortunately cannot kill transformed apocalypse roles such as death, famine, pestilence and war. Moving on to the Medusa role, this role allows you to stone gaze players at night, and if your target dies that night then they will become stoned. Stoned means that their role and will is hidden from everyone else besides the Coven. You may only use 3 stone gazes per game and will use up a stone gaze even if your target is not killed. With the book you will be forced to use your stone gazes while you are attacking until they run out. Next up is the Poisoner role, which can role block a target at night, just like the Tavern Keeper from the Town faction. Except you may also choose to poison that target at night as well as doing the role block. Poisoning will deal a basic attack if it is not cured the following night. You also have role block immunity and can't role block the same target twice in a row. This is because role blocking a player gives them the hungover status and will make them immune to role blocks for one night, If you happen to rollblock a serial killer that didn't go cautious that night, then you will die with a blank will, and when the death message comes up, it will say they visited a serial killer rather than they were stabbed by a serial killer. After the poisoner, we have the witch role. As the witch, you can control one player per night into another target. At the end of the night, you will be told your target's role. You can't control the same target 2 nights in a row. You also have role block and taunt immunity, meaning that you can't be role blocked by a tavern keeper or taunted by a trickster. The next role is the Wildling role. This role allows you to sense a player at night, and it detects who they visit as well as who visits them. You also have the ability to hear all whispers, so beware that you don't accidentally whisper the wrong person. Something to note is that if you decide to fake claim Lookout as the Wildling, then be aware that the Lookout role is an astral visit, whereas the Wildling role is a direct visit. To clarify, astral visits refer to a visit that can't be seen or tracked. Now we have the Dreamweaver role. As this role, you are able to Dreamweaver target at nighttime. If no town rolls directly visit your target the next night, then your target will be driven insane. If a target goes insane, they will vote randomly during the judgment phase. This means that they can't choose to vote innocent or guilty. Making a player go insane also stops daytime abilities being usable from roles such as the prosecutor, mayor, or deputy. Just as a note, there is a way for the Dreamweaver to determine who could be a neutral role based on who they tried to Dreamweave at night. If you Dreamweave your target and then discover that in the daytime phase that they have no Dreamweave symbol next to their name, then it is possible that they are actually a neutral role because neutral roles are immune to Dreamweave. When you die in the game, all insane players will also be sane, same as anyone who is Dreamweaved. The next role we'll be covering is the Enchanter role, and this role has 2 abilities it can use. The first ability it can use is the Enchant, which allows you to make your target appear as an evil result to the town investigatives. This will affect the results from roles such as Sheriff, Psychic, Investigator, and Seer. The Enchant will remain on that target until a town investigative role visits them. And just to note, this won't affect the coroner's results, so someone will not come up as the killer. The other ability that the Enchanter has is Alterate, and it has 2 uses total. Alterate will allow you to change the role and will of a player, but this only works if your target dies the same night you decide to alterate them. After the Enchanter role is the Voodoo Master role. As the Voodoo Master, you can choose to silence a player at nighttime. Silencing a player makes them unable to type in the chat or vote the next day. You are unable to silence a player 2 nights in a row, and also silence players are able to vote during the judgment phase, so they can choose whether to vote guilty, innocent, or to abstain. Next is the Hex Master role, and as a Hex Master, you can hex a player every night. If you get all living players hexed, then you will trigger the Hex Bomb. The Hex Bomb can even kill transformed Apocalypse roles, so it is quite powerful. With the Necronomicon, your visits become astral visits. This also means you can't be killed by the Trickster role. If you die, then the Hex Bomb can't be triggered even if later on in the game all living players are hexed. The only exception to this would be if there is a Necromancer in your game, and that they used your corpse to hex the last remaining non-hexed player. Thus, this would trigger a Hex Bomb, and this is also an achievement for the Necromancer. Speaking of the Necromancer, that is the next role we're covering. So as a Necromancer, you can reanimate a dead player at nighttime and use their ability on another player. This works very similar to the Retributionist role for the Town faction, except that the Necromancer is only able to use a corpse once, whereas the Retributionist has unlimited uses on a corpse. As the Necromancer, you have a role block immunity. With the Necronomicon, you can summon a ghoul that performs a basic attack to your target. If a trickster tries to taunt you at night, and you have the book, then they'll attack your ghoul and die. This means that you will still survive the attack and only your ghoul will attack the trickster. This also means that you can use your ability as per normal without getting affected, so if you used someone from the graveyard, then it would still all go through. Coming up next is the Potion Master role. At night, you are given the option to pick between 3 potions you can use. The first potion being a reveal potion that reveals your target's role to the Coven. The next potion you can pick is the Barrier Potion, which gives powerful defense to a Coven member or yourself, similar to how the Cleric works for the Town faction. Then the final potion is the Kill Potion. This deals a basic attack to your target, but to use this potion you will need to have the Necronomicon. The next role is Illusionist. So as the Illusionist, you can illusion a Coven member at night to make them appear as innocent to the Sheriff, good in the Psychic's good vision, have no blood to the Investigator, or as a member of the Town to the Seer. Illusioning a Coven member with the Necronomicon will allow them to bypass bodyguard protection and appear as a non-harmful visit to the Trapper. Now let's take a look at the Ritualist role. So as the Ritualist, you can perform a blood ritual to guess a target's role at night. This only has 3 uses. If you guess incorrectly, then you will be outed as the Ritualist to the Town. However, if you guess correctly, you will deal an unstoppable astral attack. As a Ritualist, you are unable to guess Town Investigatives, nor can you get a Pirate or Doomsayer killed that completes their win condition, and you are unable to guess Transformed Apocalypse rolls. The final role we'll be covering is the Jinx role. As the Jinx, you can target a player at night and deal a basic attack to one player that visits your target. Players who visit your target will learn that you are the Jinx, and the only exception to this would be an astral visitor like the Lookout. In this section, we are going to be looking at some safe fake claims for the Coven, though this specifically applies to my experience in all any. Just to note, this isn't going to be too in-depth, mainly an overview of some things that you can do. Technically speaking, you can fake claim anything as an evil role. It is more so coming across as convincing that makes it the tricky part. As a starting point, you should always think about what you are going to claim the moment you get into a game. So that way, if players decide to do vote for alignment, you have an alignment ready to claim. If you don't claim until you are voted up, then players may find you a bit suspicious because you didn't claim fast enough. You can generally get away with claiming Town Protective, Town Support, Town Killing, or Town Power without having a will, especially in the early game. However, you may eventually get pushed for a will, so try to have one prepared. The good thing with all alignments, besides Town Investigative, is that you can easily change your will up until the moment you have to post it. Key thing is to just be prepared and try to be somewhat active in the chat. If you haven't typed a single message by day 4, then players are going to be wary of you. Speaking of Town Investigative, when I'm Coven, I personally fake claim Town Investigative in most of my games, since this makes it easier to lead and take control of the town. I find that the safest Town Investigative roles to fake claim as Coven are Psychic, Sheriff, Investigator, or Coroner. If you do fake a Town Investigative role, then make sure to post daily. Players will find you suspicious if you claim late or don't post. Moving on, here are some claims I do for some of the Coven roles. For any roles that aren't listed, I'd recommend going with a town claim of your choice, but just be aware that a tracker, lookout, or trapper could get you caught if your visits don't add up. So firstly, as the Conjurer, you can claim any town role, but if you're about to be voted up in a 1-for-1 scenario, then I would recommend claiming Mayor or Prosecutor so that you can get voted innocent, and then if you haven't used your Conjure ability, you can use it before getting voted up. Looking at the Medusa role, you could try fake claiming Amnesiac or whatever a stone player's role was. Let's say you killed a monarch and they knighted someone. You can easily claim to be that monarch and appear to be a confirmed member of the town. As for the Wildling, you could easily fake claim Lookout or Tracker, but do remember that the Lookout is an astral visit whereas the Wildling is not. Whispers are also really useful for getting a fake claim as well. Another role to think about fake claiming for is the Necromancer role. In general, you can fake claim Retributionist as this role, but you'll need to remember to fake using corpses more than once. This is because the Retributionist can reuse corpses, whereas the Necromancer cannot. The Potion Master probably has the easiest time fake claiming Town Investigative roles, especially fake claiming Sheriff. Remember that the only non-Coven roles that come up as suspicious to the Sheriff are neutral evil roles. So that would be Doomsayer, Executioner, Jester, and the Pirate. The last role I'm going to recommend a claim for is the Jinx role. Personally, I'd say you could get away with claiming Crusader, specifically if the target you visited didn't have any visitors that night. This would make you look like a legitimate town protective to a tracker or lookout, more so because the lookout can't actually see the Jinx. So in the next section, I'm going to be talking more about some of the riskier claims you could do. So the first role we're going to be looking at is the Poisoner role, and in general it is very risky to fake claim Tavern Keeper. This is because if you have the Necronomicon, you won't be able to reliably role block anymore. And asking your Coven to fake claim role block could also out them if you happen to get killed and then end up being the confirmed Coven killing in that game. So the next role I'd say is quite risky is actually the Admirer role, especially if you want another Coven member to fake claim to be your lover. Don't get me wrong, this can work out really well sometimes, but if either of you die, then the other will be lynched the next day since it was confirmed fake. And the next one I would say is quite risky. Even though I do enjoy fake claiming town power, it is definitely a risky claim that will keep you alive for a little bit, but once players begin to suspect you because you haven't done anything as the town power, then you will likely get lynched. So yeah, to sum up this section, you can basically claim anything, but certain roles will work better in certain scenarios. In a future video, I'll do a more in-depth discussion about fake claiming that will also be used for other evil factions. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully you learned something that you didn't know before. Feedback on this video would be great so I can make future videos even better. Let me know what guides you'd like to see next, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Bye!